The morning sun cast a golden glow across the manicured gardens of Kensington Palace as Catherine, the Princess of Wales, stood by the large window in her private sitting room. She watched her 3 children playing on the lawn below, their laughter echoing through the crisp autumn air. George was teaching Charlotte how to properly kick a football while little Louis chased after butterflies, with the pure joy that only a 5-year-old could possess. Catherine placed her hand gently on her still flat stomach, a secret smile playing on her lips. The news she carried was precious, known only to her and William for now. After 3 beautiful children, they had thought their family was complete. But life, it seemed, had other wonderful plans. The palace staff moved about their daily routines, unaware that history was quietly unfolding within these historic walls. Mrs. Jenkins, the head housekeeper who had served the royal family for over 20 years, noticed the extra glow in Catherine's complexion as she arranged fresh flowers in the drawing room. There was something different about the princess lately, a certain radiance that reminded her of the early days when Catherine was expecting George. William entered the sitting room, still wearing his morning riding clothes after an early gallop through Hyde Park. His face lit up when he saw his wife, the same expression of adoration he had worn on their wedding day over a decade ago. Marriage and parenthood had only deepened their bond, creating a partnership that had weathered both public scrutiny and private challenges. "The children are in high spirits this morning," he observed, joining Catherine at the window. His hand naturally found hers, their fingers intertwining in a gesture so familiar it had become second nature. "They have no idea their world is about to change again," Catherine replied softly, her voice filled with wonder and anticipation. William squeezed her hand gently. They had agreed to wait until Catherine reached the 12-week mark before sharing their news, even with their closest family members. The early weeks of pregnancy were always delicate, and they had learned from experience the importance of patience and privacy during this precious time. The couple had been through so much together. From their university days at St. Andrews, where a shy William had fallen for the confident and graceful Kate Middleton, to their fairy tale wedding that captured the world's imagination, to the reality of royal life with its endless duties and responsibilities. They had faced criticism and praise in equal measure, always presenting a united front while protecting their children from the intense media attention that came with their position. Catherine remembered the morning she had first suspected this pregnancy. She had been feeling unusually tired during a recent royal engagement, struggling to maintain her usual energy while visiting a children's hospital in Manchester. The telltale signs were subtle at first, but as someone who had experienced pregnancy 3 times before, she recognized the gentle changes in her body. The confirmation had come during a quiet moment at their country home, Anmer Hall, where the family often retreated for privacy and normalcy. William had been reading bedtime stories to the children when Catherine emerged from the bathroom, holding the positive pregnancy test with trembling hands. His reaction had been everything she could have hoped for and more. Now, as they stood together watching their children play, both William and Catherine felt the weight of the secret they carried. This pregnancy represented more than just a personal joy for their family. It would bring happiness to millions of people around the world who had followed their love story from the beginning. The royal family had always been a source of stability and continuity for the British people. In times of uncertainty and change, the monarchy provided a sense of tradition and hope. A new royal baby would be a symbol of that hope, a reminder that life continues to flourish even in challenging times. Catherine thought about how much had changed since George's birth. The rules of succession had been updated, ensuring that daughters would have equal claim to the throne as sons. The royal family had become more modern and accessible, while still maintaining the dignity and tradition that made them special. William's schedule for the coming weeks was particularly demanding, with several overseas visits and important state functions. But he had already spoken privately with his private secretary about potentially adjusting his commitments as Catherine's pregnancy progressed. They had learned with their previous children that flexibility was essential, especially given the unpredictable nature of royal duties in pregnancy. The palace walls held so many secrets and stories from centuries past. Kings and queens had walked these corridors, making decisions that shaped nations and changed history. Now William and Catherine were adding their own chapter to this incredible legacy, creating new memories and traditions for their growing family. As the morning progressed, Catherine felt the familiar flutter of nervous excitement that came with early pregnancy. Each day brought new changes, new awareness of the life growing within her. She had always felt incredibly blessed to experience motherhood, and this fourth pregnancy felt like an unexpected gift. The couple knew that once their news became public, their lives would change dramatically once again. The media attention would intensify. Security protocols would be reviewed and updated, and every public appearance would be scrutinized for signs and clues. But for now, in these quiet moments, they could simply be William and Catherine, a husband and wife thrilled about expanding their family. Their love story had inspired millions, proving that modern fairy tales could still exist. From commoners to royalty, their journey had been remarkable, filled with genuine affection, mutual respect, and shared values. This new pregnancy would add another beautiful chapter to their ongoing story. The children's voices drifted up from the garden, calling for their parents to join them outside. William and Catherine exchanged a meaningful look, both thinking the same thing. Soon there would be another voice added to this joyful chorus, another little person to love, protect, and guide into the world. As they prepared to join their children in the garden, Catherine felt overwhelmed with gratitude for the life they had built together. Every challenge they had faced had only made them stronger, more united in their purpose and more committed to their family and their duty to the crown. 3 weeks had passed since Catherine and William had discovered their wonderful secret, and the princess was beginning to experience the more challenging aspects of early pregnancy. The morning sickness that had been mild with her previous pregnancies seemed more persistent this time. Though she managed to hide it well during her public appearances, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the royal physician who had delivered all 3 of the Wales children, had been discreetly summoned to Kensington Palace for Catherine's first official prenatal appointment. The doctor arrived through a private entrance, her visit scheduled during a time when the children were at school, and William was attending to his royal duties. The examination took place in Catherine's private quarters, away from the bustling activity of the main palace. Dr. Mitchell had been caring for the royal family for nearly 15 years and had developed a warm, professional relationship with Catherine. She understood the unique pressures and responsibilities that came with royal pregnancy. "Everything looks perfectly normal," Dr. Mitchell assured Catherine as she completed the initial examination. "Your blood pressure is excellent, and based on your symptoms and our calculations, I estimate you're about 8 weeks along." Catherine felt a surge of relief and excitement. Each milestone in pregnancy felt significant, bringing her closer to the magical 12-week mark when they could finally share their joy with the world. She thought about her mother, Carol Middleton, and how thrilled she would be to learn about another grandchild. Meanwhile, William was attending a meeting with senior palace officials about upcoming royal engagements. The autumn schedule was particularly busy, with several state visits, charity galas, and Commonwealth events requiring their attendance. As he reviewed the calendar, William found himself mentally calculating dates, wondering which events Catherine might need to adjust or possibly miss as her pregnancy progressed. His private secretary, James Morrison, noticed William's slightly distracted demeanor, but attributed it to the demanding schedule ahead. The prince had always been protective of his family's privacy and well-being, often requesting modifications to ensure Catherine and the children weren't overwhelmed by royal duties. Back at the palace, Catherine was having lunch with her lady-in-waiting, Rebecca Thompson, who had become a trusted friend over the years. Rebecca had noticed subtle changes in Catherine's routine lately, particularly her request for ginger tea instead of her usual Earl Grey, and her preference for lighter meals. The conversation flowed easily between them, covering topics from the children's upcoming school events to plans for the annual Christmas celebrations at Sandringham. Catherine found herself carefully steering away from any discussion of long-term plans, knowing that her pregnancy would eventually require adjustments to many scheduled activities. That afternoon, William returned home earlier than usual, eager to check on Catherine and spend time with the children before their evening commitments. The family had learned to treasure these quiet moments together, understanding how precious and rare they were given their public responsibilities. George bounded into the room, full of excitement about a science project he was working on at school. At 10 years old, he was becoming increasingly aware of his future role and responsibilities. Though William and Catherine worked hard to ensure he had as normal a childhood as possible, Charlotte, 8 years old and spirited like her mother, was eager to show off a new dance routine she had learned. Her confidence and natural grace reminded William of Catherine during their university days, when she had captivated him with her poise and intelligence. Little Louis, now 5, climbed onto Catherine's lap with the easy affection of the youngest child. As he snuggled against her, Catherine felt a profound sense of contentment, imagining another little one joining these precious family moments. The evening brought a charity dinner at the Natural History Museum, an event Catherine had been looking forward to for months. The cause was particularly close to her heart, supporting children's mental health initiatives across the United Kingdom. As she prepared for the evening, Catherine chose a flowing navy dress that would accommodate any early pregnancy changes, while maintaining her elegant style. The event was a tremendous success, raising significant funds for programs that would help thousands of children. Catherine moved gracefully through the crowd, speaking with donors, beneficiaries, and fellow supporters. Her genuine interest in each conversation and her ability to make everyone feel valued had always been one of her greatest strengths as a royal. William watched his wife with admiration as she effortlessly connected with people from all walks of life. Her natural warmth and empathy had made her beloved by the British public, and he knew this new pregnancy would only increase the affection and support she received. During a quiet moment between speeches, William and Catherine found themselves standing together, observing the positive impact their presence had brought to this important cause. They shared a meaningful look, both thinking about the future and how their growing family would continue this tradition of service and compassion. Later that evening, as they traveled back to Kensington Palace, Catherine rested her head on William's shoulder in the privacy of their car. The day had been long but fulfilling, and she felt grateful for the energy that had carried her through despite the early pregnancy fatigue. "Only 4 more weeks until we can tell everyone," she whispered, her hand instinctively moving to her stomach. William covered her hand with his own, feeling the same mixture of excitement and protective tenderness that had overwhelmed him with each of their previous pregnancies. "The children are going to be overjoyed," he replied softly. They had already begun discussing how to tell George, Charlotte, and Louis about their new sibling. With their previous pregnancies, the children had been younger and less aware of the implications. This time they would understand the significance and excitement of welcoming another family member. The palace was quiet when they returned, the staff having completed their evening duties. As they made their way through the familiar corridors, both William and Catherine felt the weight of the secret they carried, knowing that in just a few short weeks, their private joy would become a celebration shared with millions around the world. The next morning would bring new challenges and responsibilities, but tonight they could simply be a couple in love, excited about their growing family and the beautiful future that lay ahead of them. The autumn leaves crunched beneath Catherine's feet as she walked through the private gardens of Kensington Palace, enjoying a rare moment of solitude. At 10 weeks pregnant, she was finally beginning to feel more like herself again, though the secret she carried seemed to grow heavier with each passing day. The morning sickness had started to subside, replaced by a gentle energy that reminded her of the wonderful months ahead. Her phone buzzed softly in her pocket. A text message from her mother, Carol, asking about plans for the upcoming weekend. Catherine smiled, knowing how much her mother enjoyed spending time with the grandchildren. Soon there would be even more joy to share. But for now the precious secret remained between her and William. The palace was unusually quiet this morning, with William attending a meeting with Commonwealth representatives and the children busy at school. These peaceful moments had become increasingly precious to Catherine, allowing her to process the enormous changes happening in her body and their lives. Dr. Mitchell had scheduled another appointment for the following week, and Catherine felt a flutter of anticipation. Each medical visit brought them closer to the magical 12-week milestone, when they could finally share their wonderful news with family and eventually the world. As she continued her walk, Catherine reflected on how different this pregnancy felt from her previous 3. With George, everything had been new and overwhelming, complicated by severe morning sickness that had required hospitalization. Charlotte's pregnancy had been more manageable, though still challenging given the intense media attention. Louis had been a delightful surprise, and they had managed to keep the news private until they were ready to share it. This 4th pregnancy felt like a precious gift, unexpected, but deeply welcomed. At 41, Catherine had assumed her family was complete, but life seemed to have other beautiful plans. The sound of approaching footsteps interrupted her thoughts. James Morrison, William's private secretary, appeared on the path looking slightly apologetic for disturbing her peaceful morning. "Your Royal Highness, I hope you don't mind the interruption," he began with his usual respectful manner. "The prince asked me to inform you that his meeting concluded earlier than expected. He should be returning within the hour." Catherine smiled warmly at James, who had been with them for several years and had become a trusted member of their inner circle. "Thank you, James. I think I'll head back inside and perhaps review the plans for next week's engagements." As they walked back toward the palace together, James couldn't help but notice how radiant Catherine looked lately. There was something different about her, a subtle glow that reminded him of previous times when the royal family had been expecting wonderful news. Inside the palace, Catherine made her way to her private office, where a stack of correspondence awaited her attention. Letters from charities, invitations to events, and briefing papers for upcoming royal duties filled her desk. She had always taken her responsibilities seriously, but pregnancy added another layer of consideration to every decision and commitment. Her lady-in-waiting, Rebecca, knocked gently before entering with a tea service. The familiar ritual of afternoon tea had become one of Catherine's favorite parts of the day, a moment of calm in an otherwise busy schedule. "How are you feeling today, Your Royal Highness?" Rebecca asked with genuine concern. She had been with Catherine long enough to notice the subtle changes in routine and appetite that had marked her previous pregnancies. "Quite well, thank you," Catherine replied, accepting the cup of ginger tea that had replaced her usual Earl Grey. "I was just thinking about how quickly autumn has arrived this year." Rebecca nodded, though she suspected there was more to Catherine's contemplative mood than seasonal changes. Having supported the princess through 3 previous pregnancies, she had developed an intuitive sense about these matters, though she would never presume to ask directly. The afternoon brought a surprise visit from Catherine's sister, Pippa, who arrived with her own young children for an impromptu playdate. The Middleton family had always been close-knit, and these casual visits provided a sense of normalcy that Catherine treasured. Pippa's children, Arthur and Grace, were close in age to Louis and Charlotte, creating instant chaos and laughter throughout the palace corridors. Catherine watched with amusement as the cousins raced through the rooms, their energy seemingly boundless. "You look wonderful," Pippa observed as they settled in the sitting room while the children played nearby. "There's something different about you lately." Catherine felt her cheeks warm slightly. Her sister had always been perceptive, and keeping secrets from family members was proving more challenging than she had anticipated. "I've been feeling quite energetic lately," she replied carefully. The conversation flowed easily between the sisters, covering everything from the children's school activities to plans for the upcoming holidays. Catherine found herself mentally calculating dates, wondering how far along she would be during the Christmas celebrations at Sandringham. When William arrived home that evening, he was delighted to find the house filled with family chaos. Pippa's children were having dinner with George, Charlotte, and Louis, their animated chatter filling the dining room with joy. "Uncle William," Arthur called out, rushing to greet him with enthusiastic hugs. William scooped up his young nephew, marveling at how quickly the boy was growing. As the evening progressed, William and Catherine found themselves stealing glances at each other across the room, both thinking about the addition that would soon join these family gatherings. The secret they shared seemed to shimmer between them, a source of private joy amid the public nature of their lives. After Pippa and her children departed, the Wales family settled into their evening routine. Bath time for Louis, homework supervision for George and Charlotte, and bedtime stories that had become a cherished tradition. "Mummy, will you read us the story about the little prince tonight?" Charlotte asked, snuggling into her bed with her favorite stuffed animal. Catherine smiled, thinking about the irony of the request. Soon there might indeed be another little prince or princess joining their family story. "Of course, darling," she replied, settling into the comfortable chair beside Charlotte's bed. As she read the familiar tale, William appeared in the doorway, listening to her gentle voice bringing the characters to life. These moments of domestic tranquility were precious to both of them, reminders of what truly mattered beneath all the royal duties and public responsibilities. Later, as they prepared for bed themselves, Catherine and William discussed the upcoming week's schedule. There were several important engagements, including a state dinner and a charity gala that Catherine particularly enjoyed attending. "Are you feeling up to the full schedule?" William asked with gentle concern, his protective instincts heightened by the pregnancy. "I feel wonderful," Catherine assured him. "In fact, I think this might be my easiest pregnancy yet." As they settled into bed, both felt the quiet excitement that had become their constant companion. In just 2 more weeks, they would reach the milestone that would allow them to share their joy with their closest family members, beginning the process of letting the world know about the wonderful addition coming to their family. The morning of Catherine's 12-week appointment dawned crisp and clear, with golden sunlight streaming through the tall windows of Kensington Palace. She woke with a sense of anticipation that had been building for weeks, knowing that today would mark a significant milestone in her pregnancy journey. William had cleared his morning schedule to accompany her to the private medical appointment, understanding the importance of this particular visit. They had learned from their previous pregnancies that these early scans were moments to be treasured, offering the first real glimpse of their growing child. Dr. Mitchell arrived discreetly at the palace, carrying her portable ultrasound equipment through the private entrance that had become familiar over the years. The royal physician had delivered all 3 Wales children and had developed a warm relationship with the couple, understanding their unique needs for privacy and discretion. The appointment took place in Catherine's private sitting room, which had been temporarily converted into a makeshift examination room. Heavy curtains ensured complete privacy, while the familiar surroundings helped Catherine feel relaxed and comfortable. "How have you been feeling these past few weeks?" Dr. Mitchell inquired as she prepared the ultrasound equipment, her experienced hands moving with practiced efficiency. "Much better," Catherine replied honestly. "The morning sickness has almost completely subsided, and I'm feeling more energetic each day." William sat beside his wife, holding her hand as they both watched the small screen come to life. The familiar sound of the ultrasound machine filled the room, bringing back memories of previous pregnancies and the excitement of seeing their children for the first time. When the tiny form appeared on the screen, both William and Catherine felt their hearts skip a beat. There, in perfect black and white detail, was their 4th child, moving gently and showing all the signs of healthy development. "Everything looks absolutely perfect," Dr. Mitchell announced with a smile. "The baby is measuring exactly right for 12 weeks and the heartbeat is strong and steady." Tears of joy filled Catherine's eyes as she watched their child moving on the screen. William squeezed her hand gently, both of them overwhelmed with emotion and gratitude for this precious gift. "Would you like me to print some images for you?" Dr. Mitchell asked, knowing how much these first pictures meant to expectant parents. "Yes, please," William replied, his voice thick with emotion. "We'll want to show the children." As Dr. Mitchell completed the examination and printed the ultrasound images, she discussed Catherine's health and the pregnancy timeline. Based on her calculations, the baby would be due in late spring, a timing that seemed perfect for the royal family's schedule. After the doctor departed, William and Catherine sat together in comfortable silence, studying the precious images of their unborn child. The reality of their growing family felt more concrete now, moving beyond the realm of exciting secret into tangible preparation. "The children are going to be absolutely thrilled," Catherine said softly, imagining George, Charlotte, and Louis's reactions to the news. "Should we tell them today?" William asked. "They'll be home from school in a few hours." Catherine nodded, feeling ready to expand their circle of joy. "I think they deserve to be the first to know before we tell our parents." The afternoon seemed to pass slowly as they waited for the children to return from school. Catherine found herself constantly touching the ultrasound images in her pocket, still marveling at the reality of their situation. When the familiar sounds of the children's arrival echoed through the palace corridors, both parents felt their excitement reach new heights. George bounded in first, followed by Charlotte and Louis, all eager to share stories from their school day. "Did you have a good day at school?" Catherine asked, gathering all 3 children close to her on the large sofa in the sitting room. "It was brilliant," George replied enthusiastically. "We learned about the solar system in science class. I got a gold star for my handwriting," Charlotte added proudly, showing off her school workbook. Louis, ever the entertainer, immediately launched into a detailed account of playground adventures that had both parents laughing despite their nervous anticipation. William and Catherine exchanged a meaningful look before William spoke. "We have something very special to share with you three." The children immediately gave their full attention, sensing the importance of the moment from their parents' serious but excited expressions. "You know how much Mummy and Daddy love you," Catherine began gently, "and you know how wonderful it's been watching you all grow up together as brothers and sister." "Well," William continued, "we've just learned that our family is going to grow a little bit more." The children looked puzzled for a moment before understanding began to dawn on George's face. "You mean—" George started, his eyes widening with excitement. "We're going to have a baby brother or sister," Catherine confirmed, pulling out one of the ultrasound images. "This is a picture of the baby growing inside Mummy's tummy. The reaction was everything William and Catherine had hoped for and more." Charlotte squealed with delight, immediately jumping up to hug her mother gently. George studied the ultrasound image with the serious concentration of a future king, while Louis looked confused but excited by his siblings' enthusiasm. "When will the baby come?" Charlotte asked, practically bouncing with excitement. "Sometime in the spring," Catherine replied. "The baby needs time to grow big and strong before joining our family." Louis finally understood what was happening and climbed onto Catherine's lap with characteristic directness. "Will the baby be little like me?" he asked. "Even littler than you," William assured him. "You'll be the big brother, which is a very important job." The next hour was filled with questions, excitement, and plans. George wanted to know if he could help teach the baby about football, while Charlotte immediately began planning ways to share her toys and books. Louis seemed most interested in whether the baby would be able to play with him right away. As evening approached, William and Catherine felt overwhelmed with joy at their children's enthusiastic response. The secret that had been theirs alone for 3 months was now shared with the people who mattered most, creating a family bond of excitement and anticipation. "Can we call Granny and Grandpa?" George asked, eager to share the news with his great-grandmother and grandfather. "Very soon," William promised, "but for now this is our special family secret. We'll tell everyone else when the time is right." That night, as they tucked the children into bed, each one was still buzzing with excitement about their future sibling. Catherine felt a profound sense of contentment, knowing that their growing family would be welcomed with love and joy by everyone who mattered most. The morning of Catherine's 12-week appointment dawned crisp and clear, with golden sunlight streaming through the tall windows of Kensington Palace. She woke with a sense of anticipation that had been building for weeks, knowing that today would mark a significant milestone in her pregnancy journey. William had cleared his morning schedule to accompany her to the private medical appointment, understanding the importance of this particular visit. They had learned from their previous pregnancies that these early scans were moments to be treasured, offering the first real glimpse of their growing child. Dr. Mitchell arrived discreetly at the palace, carrying her portable ultrasound equipment through the private entrance that had become familiar over the years. The royal physician had delivered all 3 Wales children and had developed a warm relationship with the couple, understanding their unique needs for privacy and discretion. The appointment took place in Catherine's private sitting room, which had been temporarily converted into a makeshift examination room. Heavy curtains ensured complete privacy, while the familiar surroundings helped Catherine feel relaxed and comfortable. "How have you been feeling these past few weeks?" Dr. Mitchell inquired as she prepared the ultrasound equipment, her experienced hands moving with practiced efficiency. "Much better," Catherine replied honestly. "The morning sickness has almost completely subsided, and I'm feeling more energetic each day." William sat beside his wife, holding her hand as they both watched the small screen come to life. The familiar sound of the ultrasound machine filled the room, bringing back memories of previous pregnancies and the excitement of seeing their children for the first time. When the tiny form appeared on the screen, both William and Catherine felt their hearts skip a beat. There, in perfect black and white detail, was their 4th child, moving gently and showing all the signs of healthy development. "Everything looks absolutely perfect," Dr. Mitchell announced with a smile. "The baby is measuring exactly right for 12 weeks and the heartbeat is strong and steady." Tears of joy filled Catherine's eyes as she watched their child moving on the screen. William squeezed her hand gently, both of them overwhelmed with emotion and gratitude for this precious gift. "Would you like me to print some images for you?" Dr. Mitchell asked, knowing how much these first pictures meant to expectant parents. "Yes, please," William replied, his voice thick with emotion. "We'll want to show the children." As Dr. Mitchell completed the examination and printed the ultrasound images, she discussed Catherine's health and the pregnancy timeline. Based on her calculations, the baby would be due in late spring, a timing that seemed perfect for the royal family's schedule. After the doctor departed, William and Catherine sat together in comfortable silence, studying the precious images of their unborn child. The reality of their growing family felt more concrete now, moving beyond the realm of exciting secret into tangible preparation. "The children are going to be absolutely thrilled," Catherine said softly, imagining George, Charlotte, and Louis's reactions to the news. "Should we tell them today?" William asked. "They'll be home from school in a few hours." Catherine nodded, feeling ready to expand their circle of joy. "I think they deserve to be the first to know before we tell our parents." The afternoon seemed to pass slowly as they waited for the children to return from school. Catherine found herself constantly touching the ultrasound images in her pocket, still marveling at the reality of their situation. When the familiar sounds of the children's arrival echoed through the palace corridors, both parents felt their excitement reach new heights. George bounded in first, followed by Charlotte and Louis, all eager to share stories from their school day. "Did you have a good day at school?" Catherine asked, gathering all three children close to her on the large sofa in the sitting room. "It was brilliant," George replied enthusiastically. "We learned about the solar system in science class. I got a gold star for my handwriting," Charlotte added proudly, showing off her school workbook. Louis, ever the entertainer, immediately launched into a detailed account of playground adventures that had both parents laughing despite their nervous anticipation. William and Catherine exchanged a meaningful look before William spoke. "We have something very special to share with you three." The children immediately gave their full attention, sensing the importance of the moment from their parents' serious but excited expressions. "You know how much Mummy and Daddy love you," Catherine began gently, "and you know how wonderful it's been watching you all grow up together as brothers and sister." "Well," William continued, "we've just learned that our family is going to grow a little bit more." The children looked puzzled for a moment before understanding began to dawn on George's face. "You mean—" George started, his eyes widening with excitement. "We're going to have a baby brother or sister," Catherine confirmed, pulling out one of the ultrasound images. "This is a picture of the baby growing inside Mummy's tummy. The reaction was everything William and Catherine had hoped for and more." Charlotte squealed with delight, immediately jumping up to hug her mother gently. George studied the ultrasound image with the serious concentration of a future king, while Louis looked confused but excited by his siblings' enthusiasm. "When will the baby come?" Charlotte asked, practically bouncing with excitement. "Sometime in the spring," Catherine replied. "The baby needs time to grow big and strong before joining our family." Louis finally understood what was happening and climbed onto Catherine's lap with characteristic directness. "Will the baby be little like me?" he asked. "Even littler than you," William assured him. "You'll be the big brother, which is a very important job." The next hour was filled with questions, excitement, and plans. George wanted to know if he could help teach the baby about football, while Charlotte immediately began planning ways to share her toys and books. Louis seemed most interested in whether the baby would be able to play with him right away. As evening approached, William and Catherine felt overwhelmed with joy at their children's enthusiastic response. The secret that had been theirs alone for 3 months was now shared with the people who mattered most, creating a family bond of excitement and anticipation. "Can we call Granny and Grandpa?" George asked, eager to share the news with his great-grandmother and grandfather. "Very soon," William promised, "but for now this is our special family secret. We'll tell everyone else when the time is right." That night, as they tucked the children into bed, each one was still buzzing with excitement about their future sibling. Catherine felt a profound sense of contentment, knowing that their growing family would be welcomed with love and joy by everyone who mattered most. 2 weeks after sharing their wonderful news with immediate family, William and Catherine knew the time had come to make their announcement public. The palace communications team had been working quietly behind the scenes, coordinating with government offices and preparing for the media response that would inevitably follow. Catherine was now 14 weeks pregnant and beginning to show the subtle signs that would soon make concealment impossible. Her clothes required careful selection, and her energy levels, while good, demanded more thoughtful scheduling of royal engagements. The decision about timing had been influenced by several factors. Catherine had an important overseas visit scheduled for the following month, and palace advisors felt it would be better to announce the pregnancy before speculation began in earnest. Additionally, the autumn schedule included several major events where Catherine's presence was expected, and advance notice would allow for any necessary adjustments. On a crisp Monday morning in November, the palace communications team gathered in the private offices of Kensington Palace to finalize the announcement details. The statement had been carefully crafted, expressing the family's joy while requesting privacy during the early stages of pregnancy. The Prince and Princess of Wales are delighted to announce that the Princess of Wales is expecting their fourth child, the statement read. Their Royal Highnesses are very pleased to share this news and thank the public for their continued support. William and Catherine reviewed the statement one final time, both feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness about sharing their private joy with the world. They had learned from previous pregnancies that public announcements brought wonderful support, but also intense scrutiny. The children had been prepared for this moment, understanding that once the news became public, there would be increased attention from photographers and media outlets. George, at 10 years old, was particularly aware of the implications, having lived through his siblings' births and the accompanying media coverage. At exactly 10 o'clock that morning, the official announcement was released simultaneously through multiple channels. The palace press office sent the statement to major news outlets, while the official social media accounts shared the news with their millions of followers around the world. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within minutes, news websites were updating their headlines and social media platforms were buzzing with congratulations and excitement. The announcement quickly became one of the most shared royal news stories of the year. At Kensington Palace, William and Catherine watched the response unfold from the privacy of their sitting room. Messages of congratulations began arriving from heads of state, fellow royals, and friends from around the world. The outpouring of joy and support was both touching and slightly overwhelming. Prime Minister's office was among the first to release an official statement of congratulations, followed by leaders from across the Commonwealth. The Archbishop of Canterbury offered prayers and blessings for the growing family, while celebrities and public figures shared their excitement on social media platforms. The children's schools had been discreetly informed before the announcement, ensuring that George, Charlotte, and Louis would be protected from any unwanted attention or questions from classmates. Palace security also reviewed protocols to ensure the family's continued safety and privacy. Catherine's morning schedule had been intentionally kept light, allowing her to rest and process the reality of their news becoming public. The family physician had already provided guidance about managing stress and public attention during pregnancy, emphasizing the importance of maintaining normal routines as much as possible. By afternoon, crowds had begun gathering outside Kensington Palace and other royal residences, hoping to catch a glimpse of the expectant parents. Well-wishers left flowers, cards, and small gifts, creating impromptu displays of public affection that touched both William and Catherine deeply. The international response was equally enthusiastic, with royal correspondents from around the world providing commentary about the significance of a fourth child for the British royal family. Constitutional experts discussed the baby's place in the line of succession, while fashion commentators began speculating about Catherine's maternity-style choices. That evening, William and Catherine attended a previously scheduled charity dinner, their first public appearance since the announcement. Catherine had chosen a flowing emerald dress that gracefully accommodated her changing figure while maintaining her signature elegant style. The event provided the perfect opportunity to thank supporters personally for their overwhelming response to the pregnancy news. Catherine moved through the crowd with her characteristic warmth and grace, accepting congratulations and sharing her excitement about the growing family. "We're absolutely thrilled," she told one longtime supporter of her children's charities. "The children are over the moon about becoming big brothers and sister again." William echoed her sentiments throughout the evening, expressing gratitude for the public's continued support and affection for their family. The couple handled questions about the pregnancy with practiced ease, sharing their joy while maintaining appropriate privacy about personal details. Media coverage continued throughout the evening and into the following days, with newspapers devoting front pages to the announcement. and television programs featuring expert commentary about royal pregnancy traditions and protocols. The palace press office was inundated with interview requests and opportunities for exclusive coverage. Though William and Catherine had decided early on to limit media access during the pregnancy, they had learned from previous experiences that maintaining some boundaries was essential for their family's well-being. Fashion designers immediately began speculating about Catherine's maternity wardrobe, while photographers positioned themselves strategically around royal residences and frequent venues. The couple's protection officers worked closely with media liaison to establish guidelines that would allow for coverage while respecting family privacy. The initial excitement began to settle into a more manageable routine. William and Catherine reflected on the positive response their announcement had received. The overwhelming support and affection from the public reinforced their sense of service and dedication to their royal duties. Letters and cards continued arriving by the thousands, with messages from schoolchildren, elderly supporters, and families from around the world sharing their excitement about the new royal baby. The communications team worked diligently to acknowledge as many messages as possible, understanding how much these personal connections meant to their correspondence. The announcement had also prompted increased interest in Catherine's charitable work, particularly her initiatives focused on early childhood development and family welfare. Several organizations reported increased donations and volunteer applications following the pregnancy news. As they prepared for bed that night, William and Catherine felt a profound sense of gratitude for the love and support surrounding their growing family. The public announcement had marked a new chapter in their pregnancy journey, one that would be shared with millions of people around the world who had invested emotionally in their love story and family growth. Looking ahead, they knew the coming months would bring continued public interest and scrutiny, but they felt confident in their ability to navigate these challenges while protecting their family's privacy and well-being. The foundation of love and support they had built would carry them through whatever lay ahead. 6 months had passed since the joyful announcement, and spring had arrived at Kensington Palace with an explosion of color and new life that seemed to mirror the anticipation growing within the royal family. Catherine was now 36 weeks pregnant, radiating the distinctive glow that had marked all her pregnancies while maintaining her graceful public presence. The nursery at Kensington Palace had been lovingly prepared, decorated in soft yellows and whites to accommodate either a prince or princess. William and Catherine had chosen to keep the baby's gender a surprise, wanting to experience the same wonder and excitement they had felt with their previous children. George, Charlotte, and Louis had thrown themselves into big sibling preparations with enthusiasm that touched their parents' hearts daily. George had been reading books about newborn care, determined to be the most helpful big brother possible. Charlotte had prepared a collection of her favorite stuffed animals to share with the baby, while Louis practiced being gentle with his toy dolls, understanding that babies needed special care. The spring schedule had been carefully adjusted to accommodate Catherine's advancing pregnancy. Though she continued to fulfill many of her royal duties with characteristic dedication, her final official engagement before maternity leave was a visit to a children's hospital, where her presence brought joy to young patients and their families. Dr. Mitchell had been conducting regular checkups, and everything continued to progress beautifully. The baby was measuring perfectly, active and healthy, seemingly eager to join the family that awaited with such love and anticipation. As they entered the final weeks of pregnancy, William had quietly adjusted his schedule to remain close to home. The couple had learned from previous experiences that royal babies often arrived on their own timeline, and being prepared for any eventuality was essential. The media attention had intensified as Catherine's due date approached, with photographers and correspondents maintaining respectful but persistent coverage of any public appearances. The couple handled this attention with practiced grace, understanding that public interest came from genuine affection for their family. Late one evening in early May, as London settled into peaceful quiet, Catherine felt the first unmistakable signs that their wait was finally ending. The contractions began gently, giving her time to prepare mentally and emotionally for the journey ahead. William was immediately alert and supportive, having been through this process 3 times before, yet still feeling the mixture of excitement and protective concern that marked each of their children's arrivals. They had rehearsed their hospital route multiple times, ensuring everything would proceed smoothly when the moment arrived. The children were staying overnight with their grandparents, having been prepared for this possibility weeks in advance. Carol Middleton had arrived earlier that day, ready to care for George, Charlotte, and Louis while their parents focused on welcoming their new sibling. As dawn broke over London, Catherine's labor progressed steadily. The medical team, led by Dr. Mitchell and including specialists who had attended previous royal births, was standing by at the private hospital, where all 3 Wales children had been born. The journey to the hospital proceeded smoothly, with palace security ensuring privacy and safety throughout the transport. William remained by Catherine's side, providing the emotional support and encouragement that had sustained them through their previous births. At 8:42 in the morning, on a beautiful spring day filled with sunshine and the promise of new beginnings, Catherine delivered a healthy baby daughter. The little princess arrived with strong lungs and perfect health, immediately capturing the hearts of her parents with her tiny perfection. William's first glimpse of his daughter brought tears of joy to his eyes, the same overwhelming emotion he had experienced with each of their children's births. Catherine, exhausted but radiant, held their daughter with wonder and infinite love, marveling at the miracle they had created together. The official announcement was released 2 hours later, sharing the joyful news with a waiting world. Her Royal Highness the Princess of Wales was safely delivered of a daughter at 8:42 this morning. The baby weighs 7 pounds 3 ounces. The Prince of Wales was present at the birth. Her Royal Highness and her daughter are both doing well. The response was immediate and overwhelming, with congratulations pouring in from around the globe. Church bells rang across Britain, gun salutes honored the new princess, and crowds gathered outside Kensington Palace to celebrate the royal birth. George, Charlotte, and Louis were among the first to meet their new sister, arriving at the hospital that afternoon with barely contained excitement. Their reactions were everything William and Catherine had hoped for, with gentle wonder and immediate protective love for the tiny person who had completed their family. "She's so little," Charlotte whispered, gently touching her sister's tiny hand. "Can I help take care of her?" George asked, his voice filled with big brother responsibility. Louis was fascinated by everything about his new sister, asking countless questions about when she would be big enough to play with him. The following days brought a steady stream of visitors, including King Charles and Queen Camilla, who were delighted to meet their newest granddaughter. The Middleton family also spent precious time with the baby, marveling at how she seemed to complete their growing clan perfectly. A week after the birth, William and Catherine appeared on the hospital steps for the traditional first photographs, introducing their daughter to the world. Catherine looked radiant in a flowing yellow dress, while William beamed with pride as he carried his newest daughter. The name announcement came 2 days later, revealing that they had chosen Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana for their daughter, honoring both Queen Elizabeth and William's mother while giving Charlotte a special connection to her great-grandmother and late grandmother. The christening was held 6 weeks later in the intimate chapel at Windsor Castle, with family and close friends gathering to welcome Princess Charlotte into the church. The ceremony was simple but deeply meaningful, reflecting the couple's desire to balance royal tradition with personal significance. As summer arrived at Kensington Palace, the Wales family had settled into their new rhythm as a family of 6. Catherine had embraced maternity leave, treasuring these early weeks with her daughter, while watching her older children adapt to their new roles as protective siblings. The public continued to show overwhelming support and affection for the growing royal family, understanding that each new prince or princess represented hope for the future and continuity of cherished traditions. Looking back on their journey from secret pregnancy to welcomed princess, William and Catherine felt overwhelming gratitude for the love that surrounded their family. Their 4th child had arrived as an unexpected gift, completing their family in ways they hadn't even realized they were hoping for. The little princess, blissfully unaware of her place in history, slept peacefully in her parents' arms, surrounded by siblings who adored her and a world that celebrated her arrival. She represented new beginnings, continued traditions, and the endless possibility that comes with new life, bringing joy not just to her immediate family but to millions around the world who had followed their love story from its beginning.